What's up, weirdos? I'm Chris Weir, and this is the Chris Weir Experience. I want to start by telling you a little bit about the context of the Chris Weir Experience and the platform and framework in which it's going to operate. But before I even get into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about why I'm doing this project. I am addicted to business. I admit it. I love winning at business, and I love helping others win at business as well. There's something magical about someone who needs something and someone who has what that person needs, and then connecting the two of them in a transaction. That's magic, man. If you think about all the different things that have to happen in concert, all the moving pieces, all the cogs of the wheel that have to turn in just the right synchronization to be able to create the scenario in which that situation, that transaction takes place, is really mind-boggling if you think about it. It's something that has fascinated me from a young age, and it fascinates me even more every single day as we move along. So the whole Chris Weir Experience is really birthed from that passion that I have in business. The reason that I'm choosing this framework and this platform of content distribution is the space is getting very crowded. Those fools that are out there in business content distribution, sharing all the information or sharing a bunch of information about business, that space is getting very, very crowded and filled with a bunch of shit. My goal is I can't eliminate that. I can't get rid of all of those hucksters that have gotten into the the business content distribution. Unfortunately, I wish that I could. I wish I could control what went on the internet, but unfortunately I can't. All I can do is try to counter it and provide more legitimate content than they are. I've kind of broken down, just for identification purposes, the spectrum of individuals who are out there providing this content. So you've got really two different spectrums. One, you've got actual business professionals, and then you have non-business people that are providing business content. So let's break those down. There's a few categories for each. The first one is the business professionals, right? So inside of that spectrum, you've got three different categories. One is the posers. The posers are those people who have not made it, but they're trying to make you believe that they've made it. You know it. The old sales mentality, fake it till you make it, right? You try to seem bigger than you are, right? As an example, right? I'm starting my second advertising agency right now. If I were to get on to some marketing method and say, my entire team is here to support, we have two people and I'm starting the company in my garage, right? So that would be me trying to posture and to pose and pretend like I'm a lot bigger than I actually am. But here's the thing. Today, in today's environment, especially in society, we're sick and tired of fake. Nobody wants fake anymore. It doesn't work. You get exposed for being a poser, and you got to really stop doing that, right? So those posers are, hopefully their days are numbered. That's the first group inside of business, or the first category inside business professionals. Then you have the modifiers. The modifiers are those guys who did make it, who are business professionals. They've actually gone through the trenches and they've reached a certain pinnacle of their career and a certain level of success that they should be very, very proud of. But for some reason, they start changing the story of how they got there. You've got some who, for instance, would tell you, I started with nothing and built my business from that. But the fact of the matter is, they were handed a business from their parents and they grew that business. Now listen, the story of being handed a business and growing that business and making it larger than when you got it and having success, that's a great story. It's a valuable story that we can take a lot of lessons from. But when they go back and they change it and they try to make it sound like it was harder than it was, or the perception of that it was harder than it was, because it's never easy. Business is not easy in any avenue, but for some reason they think it's more sexy to say I started with nothing. That's an insult to those of us who are starting with nothing. Look, I mean, I'm starting my advertising agency. I don't have a venture capitalist who's invested in my, I don't have angel investors. I'm not even putting debt on my credit card. I am literally starting with zero, with nothing. I'm in my garage creating this ad agency. And it's an insult to me when you try to claim that you started with nothing, but you actually had a ticket passed down from your parents. Again, there's nothing wrong with having that. I wish my parents were entrepreneurs and would have passed me a business. There's nothing wrong with that. There's great value in that story. But be honest to the story. Don't change it up later. And for the love of God, if you do make it and you start providing advice to those on your experiences, don't change the advice. Talk about what you did, right? Don't change it up. Don't start saying arbitrary or giving arbitrary advice that's not advice that you followed yourself. If the advice didn't create success for you, why are you trying to convince everybody to do it? It doesn't make any sense to me. And the last group of business professionals that really piss me off to no end are I call the grifters. They're the ones that are, they're the ones that are like, for instance, right, you've seen them on there. They've got the selfie video, right? They've got their camera, and in the background, you see their Lamborghini, you see their big mansion, you see a few girls in bikinis in a pool, and all that kind of bullshit. Basically, all that they're doing is say, look, if you want to be like me, be successful like me, subscribe to this for $200 and something a month or whatever the mess is. Or the other guys who really piss me off is, here's some great information. Here's the tip of it. If you want to learn more and learn how to actually execute, buy this, right? So they'll tease you with a little bit of information and then try to charge you for the rest of it. Just absolutely pisses me off. So those are kind of the hucksters and the fools that are out there. Those are your business professionals. The non-business professionals, right? So you got two categories of these guys. The first category are the talkers. They're the ones that actually probably haven't even been in business. If they were, they might have been in business for like 5 minutes. But they're the ones that are like your motivational speakers, right? They're emotion over action, right? So they'll sit there and pump you up and get you all excited, and you change your mindset. You got to clap really loud and stomp your feet and turn in 2 circles and yell as loud as you can. And your mindset has changed, and that's great. And there's a place for that, and that's wonderful. But now what? My mind's changed. Now what do I do? Well, they have no idea. They can't go beyond the emotion of it all. I'm not saying emotion's not important, but emotion without step 2 is useless. And it's a waste of your time, and it's a waste of your $1,400 to buy a ticket to go and meet the person, right? So there's got to be those actionable items that follow behind that. Talkers can't provide those. The second group are the reporters. These guys crack me up. They're the ones who will go interview a business person, or they'll do a Google search on a particular topic, or they have just talked in conversation with other people about business, and then they try to advise us through others' experiences, not their own. Well, what ends up the problem with that, and the fundamental I should say the danger in that is, you know as well as I do that when you're going through a certain scenario and you're doing a project or a campaign or whatever the case might be, right? Things change. You have to react and adapt. And there's so much intuition that goes into a lot of the decisions that we have to make in business, right? So that intuition is developed through experience, through time. It doesn't come from talking to somebody else. You're not going to consume my content and be able to absorb my intuition or my ability to react and adapt to certain scenarios. That's going to happen from you doing and you earning that experience on your own. And these guys come in and they give this advice based on others' experience, but the problem is it's incomplete. So then you can't actually take action based on that advice. There's nothing that you can do with it because it's just face value and it's not applicable or specific to you. Now, why did I spend so much time talking about these two spectrums of business content providers? First, let me say there are plenty of people that are out there and professionals that are out there that are providing great content. I don't want to make it sound like nobody is out there providing good content, because that's simply not true. I am a consumer of content. Business people, great business people, are consumers of content. We spend an inordinate amount of time consuming the experiences of the legitimate experiences of others. We know that we can learn from other successes and failures, and that's how business people continue to grow and evolve and become better and better at what they do. So what ends up happening, though, is with these fools and these hucksters all in providing all of this content that are out there, you run a very high risk, especially young professionals with no experience at all consuming this content. It sounds great on paper, but it's actually not actionable. It's not practical. You can't really take it and apply it and create success with it. It just sounds good on paper. It just makes a good motivational speech on stage under lights and music, right? The problem is, as you're consuming that content, that is a huge threat to your success. That could eliminate the possibility of you having success, or at the very, very least, it could slow you down in your path to success, because you're having to cipher through all the crap to get to the stuff that's actually legitimate and real. Now, again, I can't eliminate that. There's nothing that I can do about those individuals putting all their crap online. There's always been snake oil salesmen, right? That's always existed. Now, unfortunately, with the internet, it's just kind of exaggerated a little bit, and there's a whole lot more. So I can't eliminate any of that. But what we can do is we can start countering that, and we can start putting legitimate information online to actually help business people move forward. And that's what the Chris Weir Experience is all about. It's about my actual experience, whether that is what I have learned coming up through my career, what I am learning right now in the process of opening and running my second ad agency, my experience past and present, unpolished, unfiltered, real, so that you can take bits and pieces of that, nuggets of my experience, and be able to apply it to your own experience, into your own situations, so that you can accelerate your growth and success. And maybe not even accelerate. Maybe accelerate's not the right word. Maybe it's just ensuring your success, because you've gotten legitimate content, legitimate information that can help you move forward. So let's talk a little bit now about the framework of the Chris Weir Experience and how the platform and how it's all set up. So first is the context of the Chris Weir Experience. The context is pretty straightforward, right? It's business, it's entrepreneurship, it's leadership, and professional growth. Those are the things that I am most passionate about in my own life, in my own career, in my own business. That's where I'm passionate. So that's really what I'm going to be talking about. So the context and the subject matter that I'm going to be sharing on the Chris Weir Experience are those four specific items. Now let's talk about the audience. Who is the ideal audience for my content? You've got anybody who is a professional at any level in their career, right? I mean, this could be from aspiring managers to CEOs, anybody in their professional walk at any level of their career. You've got students, college students that are either just getting started into business and thinking this is something that they might want to do. Those that may be just getting out of or about to get out of college, and they've gotten their degree, and now they're going out and they're going to try to do it. So students are our potential audience. Entrepreneurs at any age, at any level, right? Entrepreneurs can start very young, they can start very old. It doesn't really matter. Entrepreneurs at any level can consume my content. And all of those types of people, right? So any of those individuals, professionally driven, right? If you're here and you're looking for golf advice, I'm probably not going to be your best. If you're here looking for advice on wines, I might be able to help you there, because I do talk a little bit about wines, because I do own a company that does wine tastings. But regardless, really primarily this content is going to be more business driven. So let's talk about the content. There's going to be various formats of the four main areas of content. The four main areas are, you've got video, audio, graphical, and the written word, right? Those are pretty much your primary sources of content. But there's going to be various formats of that. So like for instance with video, let's just use video as an example. There are going to be long format videos where maybe I have guests come in. I've got a very good friend of mine who may be coming in with me on many of my shows, or it may just be me talking. Long format videos where we really discuss topics in full. Sometimes it may be multiple topics. But we really explore topics in a much longer format. Shorter format videos like The Daily Weirdo, where these videos are going to be put out where it's a singular topic and it's something that's popped in my head, or I've engaged with one of my clients on something and I want to tell you about it, or somebody's asked me a question and it made me think about something. So The Daily Weirdo is something that I'm going to push out probably on a daily basis. Or much more frequently than the long format stuff at the very least, but it'll be very singular, very short stuff, 5 to 7 minute kind of short videos. There'll be video rants that may last 30 to 60 seconds where I just have something that popped in my mind. It's my ADD moment and I'm just going to throw it out there because it hopped in my mind, right? And there's many other different formats. Audio is going to be podcast, graphics would be infographics or quotes, on and on and on. So there's many different formats for each of those 4 primary sources of content. And then finally is distribution. Where is all of this stuff going to be? Well, it's going to be on the primary channels, right? So you've got, we're certainly distributing through YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn. We've got Anchor. We have, for the podcast, we've got Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. There's like 10 or 15 different channels for podcasts. We have Medium, where we're sending out some of our written content. And then, of course, the website, thechrisweir.com, will be a great source. There's the blog on the website, so there'll be a great source of content as well. So we're pushing this content out into many different channels of distribution so that we can make sure that we get you wherever you're at, right? I want to connect with you in your way that's more comfortable for you. So if you prefer YouTube over Twitter, if you prefer Snapchat over Instagram or whatever it is, right? Or you prefer them all, right? I'm going to try to provide all that content across all of those different mediums so that it's relevant for you. But the most important piece of the framework to me, or the most important thing about the Chris Weir Experience for me, is that every single piece of content that I provide you is absolutely free. I'm never going to charge for this stuff, right? I'm not going to do like I was talking about earlier, give you a little tidbit, but then you've got to either hire my agency or you've got to bring me in for a consultation or you got to bring me in to speak to your company or to your event or to your organization or whatever the case is to get the rest of it. That's not how I operate. That's not how I want to be given content. It's certainly not how I'm going to distribute it. So I'm never going to charge for a single piece of my content. That's very liberating for me. It's great for, obviously, for the audience because you guys can just consume all that you want. It's great for me providing the content because that strips away my incentive or incentive's not even the right word. It's almost my expectation to polish and make it look good. That's not going to be the case. Some of my content's going to be pretty embarrassing for me, right? Because I'm going to share my failures. I'm going to share with you when I screw things up. If I don't know the answer to something, I'm not going to sit here and try to give you advice on it. I may pull somebody in, an expert, and learn about it with you and beside you and along with you, but I'm never going to give you information that I don't know about firsthand. And that is a standard that I'm just not going to compromise on with the Chris Weir Experience. So how do you get started? How do you get started with the Chris Weir Experience? And how do you make sure you're getting the most value possible out of this entire thing? Well, first and foremost, connect with me, right? So first, go like, subscribe, follow me on all those different channels or the channels that are most relevant to you. Obviously, if you want to follow me on all of them, awesome. But if you only use 1 or 2 of those, go like me on the channels and follow me and subscribe to the channels that you do actually use on your day-to-day basis. Then consume the content. Watch it, read it, view it, whatever it is that you're doing or whatever channel it is. Consume that content, digest it, think about it, and then step 3, engage, interact. Talk back. Tell me what you think about it. Communicate together as a community. Keep all the negative shit away. I don't have any use for that kind of crap. If you have time in your day to sit here and put down and make fun of either myself or anybody else who's providing content, you're a loser and you need to go find your life, right? Because if you have that kind of time in your day, you're obviously not going to be a successful professional. And then the last but not least, again, I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm not asking you to hire me as your agency. I'm not asking for a single thing from you except share what it is that you get. If you get value from any of the content that I provide, please share it, pass it along. When I was a very, very young professional, a great businessman continually gave me books to read. Now, this was pre-internet days, right? So I'm dating myself a little bit, but he would give me books about business that I could read and learn about the different things. I don't know where I would be if he hadn't shared all of that content with me. Today, we're lucky. We're on the internet. It's just as easy as pushing a button. But even though that it's that easy to share the content, that does not diminish the importance or the significance that it could have on the person that you share that information with. If you know young professionals just getting started, this advice and these experiences that I have can really, truly, possibly help them out. So if you find value in the content, all I'm asking is just pass it along, share it with the next person. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to watch this first video here and kind of talking about the Chris Weir Experience and the whole framework and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I am incredibly excited about being able to provide the content, and I'm really excited about connecting and engaging with you. Now, let's get back to work.